Hello and welcome to Watchworthy. It's your co-host, Brother Ash.
And I'm Miss Chris D.
And on this week of Watchworthy, we're going to be covering the 2024 Netflix documentary, The Greatest Night in Pop. So y'all know that one song, right? We Are the World.
We are the world.
We are the future.
We are the children.
A classic, timeless song, right? That we all have heard probably maybe at your middle school recital or, you know, at some type of, I don't know.
That's actually crazy how long it's been.
Yeah, it's just one of those songs that you kind of like, it's just etched into American history. And this documentary featured interviews with Lionel Richie, Cyndi Lauper, is it Lauper or Loper?
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. Bruce Springsteen, Kenny Loggins, Smokey Robinson, Dionne Warwick, Sheila E. And
I was surprised because it's hard to get stars to sit down for a documentary.
So, I didn't know that this song had so many different stars of that time on it. Like, I knew there were a few different people, but like, if you weren't a part of that time, like us millennials, a lot of us, unless you're super music geeks, you can't maybe not recognize some of those different voices.
Yeah.
So they kind of dove into what it took to, you know, bring all of these people together. So while you guys listen, answer our poll question or comment your answer to the question. Which musical artist should produce We Are the World Part 2?
I think it's about time we had another humanitarian anthem. Why not, you know?
Yeah. So to put it into perspective, Quincy Jones was the main guy producing and putting together the magic for We Are the World. So Quincy Jones was like respected by everybody in the music industry. So when I think of producers that are respected by everybody in the music industry, guys like Timberland pop up.
Well, if you guys think of those kind of producers, then comment. But I didn't put those options for the poll question. I put like people who are philanthropic right now.
Yeah, I feel like Pharrell would probably do something like that.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I should have said him.
So especially on Spotify, like you guys are going to be able to just give us options. I guess we have to give y'all options.
Yeah,
now.
take our poll.
Yeah, the Q&A isn't available anymore. Sorry about that. Y'all should email Spotify about that because we used to love the Q&A.
Yeah.
But these are like, like Miss Chris D said, these were some of the most philanthropic artists that were around at the time. So when you guys think about like what you would answer, like who are some people like today that will be willing to give back for this cause? Because it truly was a lot that went into it. And y'all know us artists, we got a reputation of having egos. So
that's why I said like if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be like Dolly Parton or like Rihanna. People talk about Rihanna being a billionaire and everything, but she gives back so much. So like why not? Maybe she could like wrangle up some artists to put a song out there, because I just feel like we don't have anything like that in the 2020s. I'm trying to think of something like, remember like the Black Lives Matter movement? We had some songs out then. Brother Ash had Black Bodies, people using their music for a cause. But I feel like we don't get as much of that. And maybe now, maybe you can answer this, is because like those don't stream as much or something.
I don't know. I feel like I don't even want to say people don't come together as much anymore, because I feel like the new generation of artists are pretty close. Maybe not all of them, but I feel like they do work with each other. Like I know a lot of the female rappers that are popular right now have kind of hung out together. Like I seen Lotto, Meg Thee Stallion, who was Flo Milli, I think. You know what I'm saying? But like, this was back in the 80s, so hip-hop wasn't even really as prevalent. So this was, the greatest pop singers, the greatest rock singers, the greatest country singers. So this is what is different to me, because they were people from different genres.
Yeah, definitely.
So like today, to see something like that happen today, I think it will be super cool, because it's way easier to connect. And we're going to get started on this in a little bit, but something that kind of just stuck out to me when they was like sending out demos, like they had to mail demos out.
Snail mail.
Today, that's nothing but an email, a Google Drive link, a Dropbox link, a WeTransfer link, you feel me? And then boom, you get to hear the demo tape. So when you get to the session, you know what to do. So I thought that was cool. So clearly our generation, it will be easier for us to do this.
Right. So why is anybody hopping on? Like you said, maybe it takes like Taylor Swift and Megan Thee Stallion to come together and make a girl reproductive rights song or something. Who knows?
That would be dope. That would be Landscape changing.
So let's tell you about that greatest night in pop when all these artists came together. This was a really fun documentary film. A film, thank God, not a docuseries. Netflix, please, can you just give us some 90-minute movies? That's all we ask for. So picture this. It's January 1985, and Ken Kragen, it's always a white man. You know, we were just talking recently, sometimes white people in the music industry, they're the movers and shakers. And black people, we bring the talent. Not that we can't be business-minded, but it took Ken Kragen, a talent manager, to come together, and he had a great reputation in the music industry. And so your name carries weight, and that's how you can really get people to come together. And so Harry Belafonte came to him, and you guys might know Harry Belafonte from Dale. We said Dale.
Yeah. He
came to Ken, and he was like, I really have a lot of social impact. I want to make a song to spread the word about the poverty in Africa. Now, mind you, this is the 80s. We already got the crack epidemic going on at home. So I feel like people wasn't really thinking about what's going on over in Africa. But in 1984, there was that charity single, Do They Know It's Christmas? Like, do they know it's Christmas? That song is the first time that like a bunch of artists came together. Now, mind you, it was over in Europe, but we heard the song over here too.
Yeah.
That was the first time that a bunch of artists came together to make like what they called a charity single. Mm-hmm. So with that song, it had just come out a month before. So Harry Belafonte was like, why not just follow that blueprint? Let's just do it bigger and better and do exactly what they did. So I love that somebody else did it and they decided to follow suit.
I've really seen, like, in this documentary, we seen, like, how much Lionel Richie had to do with this. Like, Lionel Richie was kind of like the peacekeeper, so to speak. Him and Michael Jackson, like, worked together, writing the song and stuff. And there was some funny stories that came from that experience. But Harry Belafonte reached out to Lionel Richie to jump on board because he basically said, like, we have white people helping black people, but we don't have black people helping black people.
Yeah,
and that's something that like kind of stuck out to me, just because like I feel like, wow, that was a profound thing to do in the 80s, where like all of those, black people were still pretty much dominating in music in the 80s. Maybe not so much in country, but like pop, Michael Jackson was the king of pop. Prince was popular. Sheila E.
Yeah,
this whole time, I thought Sheila E. was like...
She looked kind of white passing.
Yeah, she looked kind of white, like... But in the interview...
She was black.
She was black.
Yes.
And when you look at her, like, back in the day, I'm like, oh, she was just a really fair-skinned black woman. So it just kind of shows you, like, how, like... forward thinking that was of Harry Belafonte to reach out to...
But I set a red flag for me because I feel like he's right. I'm sorry, but black people are just trying to survive in America. We're not worried about what's going on across the pond.
Yeah.
And so, even I remember my grandma back in the day, she had like adopted one of those kids from Asia and would like send money every so often or whatever,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, that's, I guess Americans, we kind of have this outlook like we're here to save the world, kind of. So like, I guess... I don't know if that's like a fragment of our arrogance or if that's just, like kind of like charity to other countries, because we do have certain liberties and freedoms that people don't have in different places. So like I said earlier, they got Quincy Jones to produce the track. Lionel knew that Quincy was the guy for this. So, Michael Jackson was immediately on board because he and Lionel like went way back to like their early career, where Lionel Richie was the lead singer of the Commodores, I believe, and Michael Jackson being the lead singer of the Jackson 5. So they had already crossed paths and had a great amount of respect for each other back in those Motown days. So
that's like Motown family.
Yeah. So they immediately kind of put their heads together.
I think, like you said, once Lionel was like, okay, I want Quincy, I want Michael, the rest come together easily. As long as you got Michael Jackson on board, like you can get some other people to come on board. So like Brother Ash said, there was no social media back then, so they really had to reach out and invite other artists. And it was a logistical nightmare, they said in the documentary. As you can imagine, it's not like you can just follow somebody on TikTok and DM them, or it's not like you just have Michael Jackson's manager's phone number. But luckily, like I said, Ken Cragen, he had that extensive Rolodex.
Yeah.
Put a red flag for me, because we don't got Rolodexes no more. We don't got little black phone books anymore.
I don't think that's a red flag. We got phones where you could literally have 450 contacts on your phone.
Now it's to the point where you don't remember anybody's phone number. It's not written down. If your phone dies, who you gonna call? So I want to bring back Rolodexes.
But like, whose phone even dies these days without being able to find the charger in 10 minutes?
Okay,
like,
babe.
I mean?
If you ever get caught out in the desert with no phone.
I'm just saying, just because we don't have Rolodexes anymore, like, doesn't mean that.
Okay, well, I just feel nostalgic and I miss Rolodexes.
Or
and so
you should get one.
I should keep it on my little business desk and like look
whenever you
professional.
want to text or call somebody, like, don't go to your contact, go to your Rolodex and punch in the number in your phone.
Okay, I will. And so he was able to pull some strings in the industry and get people on board. So they're thinking, all right, they want to do this as soon as possible. And this whole documentary just proved to me like how quickly this all came together. I had no idea. So they were like, when can we get like 50 musical artists all together in one room? Lionel was supposed to be hosting the 1985 American Music Awards. So they were like, bet, let's just record after the music awards. I don't know how. That's a red flag.
Red flag.
I would be dog tired.
Yeah.
You want me to record a song and turn it around in a couple weeks after I have to host an award show?
I've never been to one of those like crazy award shows. I don't know if they let Gen Pop in that or not. Yeah, they let Gen Pop in
like the BET Awards, they'll let general admission.
I would imagine from regular shit that I've been through that those Jones are long, especially if you're an artist. Like some of these people that they was trying to get to come to the studio after the award show had to perform at the award show.
Yeah, I would be dog tired. I would not want to do all that. But they decided on that date, and that's when they would record the track. And so, like I said, after reaching out to several artists, they were able to get, I can't even name everybody that they had in that room, y'all. It was mind-blowing.
They had Ray Charles, Diana Ross, Huey Lewis, Bob Dylan, Tina Turner, Paul Simon, Stevie Wonder, who else? Steve Perry, Billy Joel. All of those dudes are on board. And it was kind of like, actually Stevie kind of came last minute, I heard. Because they reached out to Stevie early. Like,
he was egging them. He was like, I'll get back to you, and never did.
Like when Michael and Lionel started to write the song, Stevie was supposed to be in on that early in the process, but like he never got back to him. And he just pulled up to the studio like, yeah, I'm ready. And they like, yeah, the song's already written. But yeah, so it's like certain people like, oh, you got Bruce Springsteen? He just got off tour?
Yeah.
Oh, if Springsteen's there, I'm going. Like, So, yeah, a bunch of powerful names in the building. Normally, all these artists would never do a project like this, but since it was for a good cause, like, some of them kind of felt guilty. Like, I always wonder, like, how can I give back? And boom, here's a way to give back.
Right.
Making a song to give back. Doing what you do on a daily basis that have gotten hundreds of thousands of people to adore you as a way to give back. So, it kind of just... sold itself in a way. So when Quincy Jones is doing a project, it's well worth being a part of. That's something that Dionne Warwick said. That just lets you know, like I said, there's certain producers now, like if Pharrell gets in contact with any artist from any genre,
you're doing it.
You're doing it. Like it's Pharrell, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, Lionel and Michael were like under a lot of pressure. They had a very short time to turn over the song.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so Lionel goes to Michael Jackson's residence for the first time, apparently. Because they've seen each other, they've worked together before, but he's never been to Wonderland.
Yeah.
Right? So he's telling stories about monkeys fighting with birds in the kitchen while they're trying to write. Michael's, taking little short breaks to work on his own personal music. Lionel's doing the same. But there was one story that kind of stuck out to me. Y'all know Michael Jackson is a character.
He's such a weirdo.
So, like, Lionel Richie is, like, apparently, like, they're humming through the melody of the song, putting this song together. We are the world, all this stuff. And then, like, Lionel Richie says he just hears a... and he looks up and sees records falling down off the shelf and a big-ass snake, red flag, like a python.
Michael had too many
snake.
pets.
And Michael goes, "Oh my gosh, Lionel, I finally found him. He came out, he was hiding, he loves your singing." And I was just like, I would have got up and walked the fuck out of Michael's.
It was so funny, just like hearing behind the scenes stories about these two guys hanging out. Lionel was like, yeah, Michael was just like, oh, my pet snake, I've been looking for him everywhere.
So that was hilarious to me because Michael Jackson, people, you hear about all the animals and like how his house was like a circus, but like to hear that firsthand coming from Lionel Richie was actually,
even he was freaked out.
it was hilarious. I would have lost my shit and I would have walked out of Michael's house. Like when you can secure your python, I'll come back so we can work on this song. You can't be out here losing fucking pythons.
And it just sounded like they didn't have a lot of time to turn this around. And so Michael's over here playing with his pets. Lionel's like, we got to write this song.
Like he brought the monkey in the room. Like he wants to hug you. Like get this fucking monkey out of here, bro. We have a week to write this song. So the team was scouting a recording studio in LA. They didn't want the location to get out.
That's important. You got like 50th. You just named Bob Dylan, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, all gonna be in one building.
They coming like if Michael pull up and there's too many people waiting at the studio, he not getting out the car.
Yeah.
So they had to find a studio that was professional enough to house all of these musicians, but like, was able to keep it low to the ground so that people wasn't following them to the studio after the award show.
Yeah. So Quincy Jones, he was kind of the front runner, as we said, and he selected the engineer and the vocal arranger, and they were actually presented in the documentary, so they got to talk about their experience and what they were really concerned about, which I guess I didn't think about this, but I should have, because imagine if you had all of the stars today and their paparazzi and their entourages and all that. Yeah. What they were concerned with was some of the artists were troublemakers. We just named Cyndi Lauper and all these rock stars. And so they were worried about, like, how are we even going to position them in the room? They literally had to, like, tape where each person was going to stand on the floor.
And they made sure there was not a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Which that alone can create a lot of stress. Like we don't have a second to breathe or to laugh.
Mm-hmm. You don't want people standing around. Yeah. And because the energy was so tense, it almost felt like, oh my God, if we don't get this right, people are just going to leave. Yeah. People are not going to participate. Some people did, yo. And so, it's the night of the AMAs. Lionel won 6 awards that night. He was on fire. He had like just come out with his solo project. He was the host, so he was doing it all. Yeah. But he said all he could think about was We Are the World. After this show, I got to go to that studio, wrangle all these artists together, and do this song that I wrote with Michael Jackson. So that's all he was thinking about. And also, during this time, 1985, it was really the year of Prince versus Michael. Like, that was the biggest battle of the year. And they were both, nominated for a bunch of AMAs. Ultimately, Prince, like, swept Michael out, and he won all those awards that night. But it really would have been cool to get them on this song together. However, Prince decided not to do the song, so everybody was kind of bummed about that. But Michael was very dedicated to this song, and while everybody else was at the AMAs, he didn't even go to the award show. He was back at the studio getting ready for We Are the World.
Yeah, and I heard that Michael really was only interested to write, and I think Quincy kind of motivated him to actually sing on the song as well, to have his voice on the song, which ended up being a great thing for him, because for a while, I always associated that song with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, if you see those videos on Twitter of like Michael Jackson, singing and then looking at other people stank because they didn't get the note right, that was this night. It was all recorded.
Yeah.
And what was interesting to me was when Michael said, this song is really my statement on world hunger, because Michael Jackson was not a political figure. He wasn't speaking up on these kinds of things. A lot of these pop stars weren't. It was kind of almost detrimental to your career back then if you did get out of your lane and you did speak up on certain things. And so I feel like world hunger, that was something that people didn't have a problem speaking up about. And so he said that he kind of used this song as his way to express himself.
And that's kind of something you kind of just got to be a really bad asshole to not want to stop world hunger. Like, we all got to eat, whether you white, black, straight, gay, indifferent, Republican, Democrat, you got to sit down that night and eat to nourish your body. So after the AMAs, these guys didn't get into the studio till around like 10, 11 o'clock.
Oh, God.
So you could imagine, like, imagine if you guys, like, I work overnights sometimes, right? But if you don't do that, imagine starting work at 10 o'clock after you've already been to an outing. Like, so there were a lot of artists there who kind of like brought their egos with them, but a lot of them also just kind of wanted to celebrate and be fans of one another. So it was a lot to kind of say like, hey, let's focus in, let's get this done. So yeah, there were tensions in the room because not a lot of, you know,
you don't want to drag this on to day two. You can't.
You don't want to like say, hey, let's come back and finish this tomorrow, because
you can't.
Half of the guys aren't going to be there. Some of them might have another show to go to. Some of them might end up oversleeping, drunk or high in a fucking hotel room. Like, you know, I feel like that's what Prince was doing that night. Prince was partying his ass off. Like,
yeah, where was he?
Either that or he was working on like more music or something. Like, so they were shooting the video like while they were recording this. So the video for the song, like a lot of that footage you see, I don't know like if you guys have ever seen that video, was the actual night that we're talking about. So like for example, like I feel like people just dressed up more back then, but like when I go to the studio, most of the time I'm in sweat. I might throw on some jeans and like get a little fly, but they're coming like in full Michael Jackson mode, full Dionne Warwick mode.
Bruce Springsteen had the leather jacket.
Yeah, the leather jacket in a room full of lights beaming down on you.
They said it did get a little stinky up in there. Red flag.
Yeah, it was a little stinky in there.
It was a little funky. It was hot, and like I said, I would just have an attitude. I would be tired. I would be like, if we don't get to my part soon, I'm leaving.
Yeah. So whole time, like everybody there was like volunteering for real. Like I did think some of the like engineers got paid, or
the camera crew said he did not get paid.
I do remember somebody saying like, I can't believe like I'm getting paid to record these, you know, legends right now. But it probably wasn't much. This is the 80s we talking about. They might have just got a fucking, you know, dozen donuts in the morning from Krispy Kreme.
And again, it was for a good cause. It was a charity song, so I don't think anybody was really thinking about the money, hopefully.
Yeah.
At least none of the stars seemed to be like, oh, where's my check? And so Lionel was really the liaison between all 47 total. They said 47 artists.
47.
And Stevie Wonder even, you know, he was kind of getting people comfortable. They showed a really nice scene where Bob Dylan was struggling to get his note, and he was very uncomfortable. Imagine you're in a room with Michael Jackson, Tina Turner, like all these amazing black pop stars, and you're just like little Bob Dylan with your guitar. Well, I don't want to downplay Bob Dylan because he's huge, but like you could see he was physically uncomfortable. He felt out of place. And so Stevie Wonder kind of talked to him and played the keys and made him feel better and put a smile on his face. And that was really cool to see. And there was even a part where, like you said, Stevie was supposed to help write the track. You missed your chance, buddy. But now we're all in the studio. He's trying to add lyrics.
Stevie was on some bullshit. I'm not going to lie.
He was like, I think since we're singing about Africa, we should add some Swahili. And people were like, we're singing about Ethiopia. They don't talk Swahili there.
Please forgive me to like the Stevie Wonder, you know, family and all of that. I don't mean no disrespect, but it seemed like Stevie might have hit the L that night. Like,
probably.
He was just like joking so freely about stuff, and he wasn't like slowing shit down. Like Stevie.
No, he was a little too giggly when they was trying to be serious.
He wasn't the reason why they were there until like you know, like 8 o'clock in the morning, but like it was kind of a couple of times it's like, all right, Stevie, like, you know, we love your light humor, but
definitely.
Yeah.
And so speaking of that, they specifically talked about how Al Jarreau, he was a little bit too busy drinking. They said that he kept saying more bottles. Imagine you're in a room with all of your peers, some people you might even be a fan of. He wanted to treat it like a party, but they were like, no, this is business. Like, we can't be drinking too heavy.
Yeah.
So he was the one slowing things down, slurring his words and everything.
And that might work for some artists in the studio when you're in your session.
Yeah.
But when there are 40 something other artists, that's almost like an artist for every state.
Yeah, we don't got time for that.
So like, there's no time for you to be stuttering drunk because you had 4 bottles of wine.
Yeah, and even Cyndi Lauper, like we said, it was a little tense at moments because of the time constraints, and also, you know, you just have a lot of egos in the room. So somebody like Cyndi Lauper, she provided some comedic relief, and it was really just cool to see people kind of admiring each other. They said that they started to autograph each other's sheet music, and it just didn't dawn on me that you might be in the industry yourself, but you still look up to all these people. Now, I will say, if you're watching on YouTube, you see I got the Whitney Houston shirt on. Where was Whitney at? I would have liked to see Whitney up in there. But that's my only gripe, I would say. I feel like they had every single demographic and genre represented up in there.
Whitney was wherever Prince and Whitney probably was in the same place.
Actually, you're right. They probably were. And
having a grand old time.
Like Brother Ash said, they were trying to, get as much work done as possible, and they were in that session till 6, 7 a.m.
Yeah. So I've never done a 10 to
all-nighter,
a 10 to 7 studio session. I mostly record in the comfortability of somebody's home.
Oh, and the food of choice was Roscoe's Chicken, they said.
Yeah, they ordered mad chicken and waffles. I'm like, damn, like I would have loved to been a delivery driver that night. That tip was probably crazy. So finally 3 months after this great night in pop, We Are the World came out. It won Record of the Year and Song of the Year at the 1986 Grammys. Cause like, how could it not? Like,
yeah,
everybody they probably had all the other Grammy nominees on the song. So like, I thought that was dope. That the song did well. I knew that it would, but for the world to get it and to be so receptive, I guess it was worth it. And that's what they were all thinking during that, hot, sweaty, tempers flaring session.
4 a.m.
When we get this done, it's going to be worth it, and it's going to be a part of music history. And the song raised $80 million for humanitarian efforts towards, stopping hunger in parts of Africa. And artists realized that they could make a change with their music.
It was like a light bulb went off. Like that was the first time they realized.
So you started to see some artists after this branch off and make more humanitarian music. And like we were talking about earlier, that's definitely something that's needed today. From the big name commercial artists. Nina Simone once said, it's the artist's duty, whether you're a painter, singer, whatever, to tell the stories of your time. Like that's your duty as an artist to society, not just to be crazy, weird, and with this ego and be eccentric. Like, no, it's your job to let people know what it was like during the time you were alive. So
absolutely. So let's get into some Watchy Awards. I mean, this one was jam-packed, star-studded. I would say my Watchy Award has to go to Diana Ross. I just love seeing Diana. She's just like a goddess to me, and so to see her just like chill in a sweatshirt and like just happy-go-lucky, happy to be there with her friends, like cuddled up on the couch with Lionel. It was so cool to see behind the scenes them just being a little more down to earth, and it's like you're a star, but you're less of a star when you're surrounded by other stars. It's like you're all just stars.
She said, like, at the end, where they finally finished, like, she was crying.
Yeah.
And somebody walked up to her like, yo, what's wrong? And she was like, I don't want this night to end.
That's so me. I love that.
I was like, wow, what a sweetheart.
I love Diana. Like, that was so sweet. Like, because I don't know if they've ever done this again, honestly. So when are you ever going to see all these stars in this room like this?
Yeah, we're working on something. We're just waiting on a few people to get back to us. Well, yeah, we got Billie Eilish coming. We got I'm joking. But that would be so dope to see something like this happen again.
Yeah.
With all the young artists out right now, like so many names pop into my head. And, I mainly focus on R&B and hip hop, but like I know that there are some young country and pop singers that I feel like would, make an amazing record right now. My Watchy Award, and Miss Christie always gets mad at me.
Because you be like, this documentary was about Lionel Richie, so my Watchy Award is Lionel Richie.
If you throw 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, you're getting the Super Bowl MVP.
Okay.
Right? So my Watchy Award goes to none other than Quincy Jones.
Okay.
Because not only is he Quincy fucking Jones, but he was the guy that had to like keep this train moving. What's that sound? What's that feedback in the mic? Mm-hmm. Oh, take all your jewelry off. Like, he was that guy. And you can't be...
He was like, singing in this octave, do that octave.
Yeah, and you can't be a dick in this type of environment. And that's the one thing people said about Quincy Jones. Like, he never really lost his temper. He was always cool. People just respected the hell out of him. And it showed during the clips of this documentary, even when he started to get frustrated and he did have to, like, assert his
be a little serious,
authority and be serious, people was like, okay, it's Quincy. Like, let's stop fucking around. So I just wanted to give, Quincy Jones his flowers for providing that to music and kind of just giving the template of what it means to be a composer and a producer. So
having the respect of everybody across many different genres. So with that, we ask you to subscribe, rate, review. If you liked what you heard today, definitely share this podcast with a friend who loves documentaries. You can follow us on Instagram at WatchworthyPod and on TikTok at watch.worthypod. Peace.